All right, everyone, good evening. Welcome to the meeting of the Ware Board of Selectmen, December 6, 2021. We started with a non-public on to hire a potential employee at 6:30. Brings us to the call of order and pledge of allegiance. Everybody can join me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Brings us to public comment. Anybody?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ralph Feldbaum. I am not a town resident, but I have asked to speak during the public comment session of tonight's meeting. I'm here because I feel I owe this select board an apology. I'm the trail master for the Ware Winter Wanderers Snowmobile Club. We operate and maintain approximately 60 miles of trails on government, federal, state, and private lands in the towns of Ware, Hopkinton, Deering, and Dunbarton. We lost the use of a section of trail here in Ware near Duck Pond Estates, near the Duck Pond Estates development at the end of the 2021 season. I volunteered to be tasked with finding a reroute to maintain our trails west of 114. I found several possibilities for this route and decided on one that I thought was best that involved only 3 entities. There were 3 parcels belonging to Meadows End Timberlands, the Elizabeth Simons Forest, and 1 town piece. So I used an online tax map, Access GIS, to aid in finding this route. And the map shows the town piece as map 405, lot 62, and it shows it directly connecting to the Elizabeth Simons piece. I previously obtained permission from both Meadows End and Society to access both of their lands and was granted that permission. And the last step was to obtain consent from the town. I met several times with the Ware Conservation Commission. They asked to have the club draw up an easement to be submitted to them for their approval, and that was to ensure the continued viability of our trail system as the Duck Pond Estates development progressed. The surveyor I had hired for this task was unable to complete his final draft of that easement by the October 19th meeting of the Ware Conservation Commission. It was at that point that the Conservation Commission deemed that it would be best to have the select board rule on whether we could have consent to use that town piece of property. I'm not sure of the date, but I submitted that writing in request to allow the club to pass on the town land at the next meeting after that select board meeting on October 19th. I don't know what date that was. That request was granted by you. The last thing I needed to do was to move an existing gate to a boundary line between the town and Mr. Luke Drake. It was during this correspondence with him that I became aware that the tax map was in error. In order to make that complete route, I would need the permission of Mr. Drake to complete that route as we had looked at it. And at that point, all plans and schedules related to that route were put on hold permanently. The misunderstanding of the property bounds is my fault, and my fault alone. For the record, there was no collusion or conspiracy between myself and any select board member to individually or collectively to defraud or deceive Mr. Drake. For the record, there was no collusion or conspiracy between myself and any member of the Ware Conservation Commission, individually or collectively, to defraud or deceive Mr. Drake. For the record, there was no collusion or conspiracy amongst any members of the Ware Winter Wanderers Snowmobile Club to defraud or deceive Mr. Drake. The Ware Winter Wanderers Snowmobile Club only exists through the generosity of every one of our landowners who graciously allow the members of our club and the entire snowmobile community to use their land. It's in our best interest to maintain a healthy relationship with all of our landowners. It would be self-defeating to offend any property owner whether we have a land use agreement with them or not. It is inconceivable to believe that I would individually, or the Ware Winter Wanderers Snowmobile Club in general, would intentionally try to defraud or deceive or use someone's land without their permission. This misunderstanding of the boundary lines was a simple and honest mistake. It was made by me alone and in no way be a black mark on the Snowmobile Club. This club has operated in this community and the surrounding communities for 51 years, and we haven't had issues with people. We do have trail reroutes because people have changed their minds, but we don't have major issues with people. I formally and publicly apologize to the Select Board and the Ware Conservation Commission for the undue burden that this has put on you. I formally apologize to Mr. Drake. This was not anything other than a simple mistake. I used an online tax map. It was in error. That's it. That's all it was. So I thank you for your time and your attention in this matter, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Drake, I hope we can put this behind us. Okay.
Okay. Anybody else for public comment? Oop.
Good evening again, folks. Let me take this off again so I can use my glasses here. I've got a fairly lengthy statement, but I'll start off, given the statement by Ralph, to say that I'm not here to talk about the Snowmobile Club and our business together. We had business together. I dealt with that with them. What my concerns are is how the town dealt with me after the fact, and how the town dealt with the property piece. So I'm going to, give you guys a copy of this, and I'll submit the written copy along with all of the attachments I have at the end of
Thank you.
the reading here. And it's long, so I'll try to read quickly. And I'll point out, it says, I come deep before you tonight to both follow up on the concerns I raised in the last public session and raise new issues that have come to light as I look more deeply into the matter. However, before I begin, I want to thank all of the board, the committee, and staff members for their having volunteered to serve the public. I know something about public service as I am nearing the end of my own 40 years in public service. During that time, I've had the honor to represent, through appointment and election, thousands of employees on wide-ranging issues and to serve on dozens of leadership teams, local, regional, national committees, boards, and executive boards. This experience includes work with and advisory, judicial, and legislative bodies, which has left me only too aware of the complex nature of navigating governance by committee while both complying with and creating policies, rules, and regulations and law. So I honestly thank you for your service. We are all, I hope, aware that entering government service, we're often sworn to hold and protect the interests of the people we represent collectively above our own. In short, we become fiduciaries or keepers of the public trust. I also hold elected office in this town and have attended training as a result, including ethical aspects. Some of us find ourselves in the position as pecuniaries, or those empowered to act as financial representatives, on financial concerns. These folks, including all of you, are held to an even higher set of ethical expectations and standards, many of those codified in law. However, it appears in our town there are shortcomings in this area that need redress. Obviously, the decisions of these individuals and bodies are consequential to the affected parties, particularly given that we're talking about property rights here, but they also carry consequence for public servants on matters involving retention, re-election, reappointment, or in some unfortunate circumstances, punitive actions of the courts. To avoid such calamity, all governments apply local standards of conduct, the most basic of which is to avoid conflicts of interest. In my review of the records and videos of the meetings in this town over the past few years, I found numerous discussions from members of this and other elected and appointed officials and a goodly number of citizens who have highlighted concerns of ethical behavior and by appointed and elected officials of this town. I note that there was a clear increase in the related discussions over the course of the past 2 years. Tonight, I have unfortunately yet again come to talk about issues related to apparent shortcomings of multiple representations of the town. In many of these areas, though, I will acknowledge the impact of these conflicts varies. At the meeting of this body on the 15th of November, I came before the board and presented my concerns about a boundary infraction apparently sanctioned by the town. After the conclusion of my statement, the selectmen had the following exchange with me. You have a concern that we need to look into was, I'm going to use SV, I don't know how to say, Selectman Vander?
J.
Van Lot, yeah, Selectmen.
Selectman Van. Selectman Hippler said that's correct. Selectman Van said, I think it would be fair to ask Naomi to look into pulling the deeds and tax maps to verify where the issue lies. Give us a little more time. After recess, the board comes back and the town administrator says, by the way, I had left in the intervening period, so I wasn't here to comment, and obviously during new business, it wouldn't have been appropriate for me to comment. TA fed back to the board. The tax map was wrong. Bob Todd did the work in 1970. I'm paraphrasing some of this. When you digitize something that's been hand-drawn, things don't match. I strongly disagree with this statement. I've been in aviation long enough to know that digitization done correctly is extremely precise. However, I will agree that garbage in, garbage out. While it does not surprise me that the overburdened TA would object to this work, and moreover the potential for opening the can of worms, the truth is that since the 1970s, GPS technology has allowed for easy verification in 3 dimensions of any point on this planet. We use it for air travel all the time. The fact that the town has not updated its self-acknowledged and widely known erroneous maps, which are used to take money from the people in a supposedly fair and equitable manner, is abhorrent to me. I hope all the folks watching this check their property lines with GPS coordinates and petition the town to update any inaccuracies. The TA goes on in this conversation to say a mere mistake. Nothing that was given was wrong, not a tax map. If someone has something surveyed, we get an updated map. Well, both the Simons piece, when that transferred to Society of Protection of New Hampshire Forest, and the NBAC piece were surveyed, and those were presented to the town. You had that information on hand. In fact, please review the WWW submission. And I have just one thing I'm going to provide from the submission, though you already have it. And then I have a blown up copy so you can see it. This is the map that the Snowwood Club, by the way, graciously provided me this. They've been very cooperative in the discussion of this issue.
Yep. Everybody kicks the sign, it's okay.
I did the sign, right?
Thank you.
Here's the blown up copy where I have added just a couple indications. Oops, sorry, I gave it to you. So, what I want to point out here, let's see. So what I want to point out here on this piece is, this of course is what was presented by the Snowmobile Club to the town. It's not a tax map, it's the map from the Forest Society. And the reason that's important is if you look in the lower right-hand corner at the key for this, it shows a couple of things. One of them certainly is the Hillsborough tax identifications in yellow. However, it also shows the SPNF boundaries in green. And those SPNF boundaries, as you can see in the blown-up section that I gave you, clearly indicate that my two pieces join right there. So I'm not clear how we got, again, that far down. I can understand a mistake by a social organization, a club. Absolutely, I get it. I don't, however, understand how this issue came up before so many people in town, and that was never caught. All right. So back to the discussion. Selectman Burdick says they can't move off the trail. TA, if we don't have access, we lost a third of our system. All right, right there. I object to the TA responding on behalf of the Snowmobile Club at the meeting from their seat. I think that's an inappropriate use of the position. They should have recused themselves from that. And then it goes on to select and I'll also note that that wasn't the question that was asked. Selectman Burdock then says, that's awful. I respectfully submit that my relationship with WW is between the two parties and expressly not the business of the town, and I wholly reject any characterization of that relationship by town officials. It's expressly not the town's business. Excuse me, lost my page. The landowner's exercise of their rights, it is expressly not the town's business, and mentioning the landowner's exercise of their rights is reprehensible in its intent and contextual incompleteness. Moving on, I'll call your attention to timestamp 242 of the video of the meeting. The TA suggests the error was discovered by WWTM when walking the property with the society girl. This is not a true statement. While Spiniff did point out that there appeared to be a misunderstanding during the walk with the WW reps, it was only weeks later, after I was contacted about moving the gate, questioned the trail manager and was told I was wrong, then contacted Spiniff and confirmed the survey, and then Spiniff contacted the TM that they finally acknowledged my claim. It was an honest mistake. Again, I'm not going to characterize the nature of the mistake, but I did bring some pictures of the area for you to consider. Now, this first picture on the top shows the approach. I'm standing on the town property looking at the junction of the property, of the four corners of the property. Couple of things on the next page, what I've given you there, is the tree that was referenced by the Snowmobile Club as having to be taken down. They asked for permission to cut that tree. It's an 8-inch birch. It's a witness tree. So what I'm demonstrating here is where that tree is in relation to the clearly posted line that I have. Both those posted markings on that first page are mine. The third picture, this one right here, shows that the angle that the Snowmobile Club was looking to put the trail through, right? Clearly they wanted to go to the right. They wanted to cut down that birch tree, and they asked the Conservation Commission about removing a couple of small trees in that area. That is not their land. The Conservation Commission granted that permission. Now, the last two are the tags that are attached prominently to the witness tree and the foundation marker, the pin on the property. I'll note that the Ware Conservation Commission in their deliberations suggested that there was no monumentation of these boundaries, and that was part of their rationale for granting the passage this year because it hadn't been appropriately surveyed. I'll also reference back to my earlier comment that, well, clearly it was because the town was given multiple surveys on the same property. So, moving on. Please consider, I gave you the images. And again, that big yellow tree with the clearly posted sign on it, that sign has been there for years. And so anybody walking up would have seen that there was a posted sign, and that should have raised questions. And the reason this is important to the town, and aside from my relationship with the club, is a representative of the town from the Conservation Commission went out there with the club, had to have seen those signs. And yet made decisions, voted on, in fact, their requests. So, going back to the evening of the 15th, the TA says, I don't think we need to do any more research. The board then agreed to this. And to date, I've heard nothing further on the matter from the Board of Selectmen, despite you all having committed to get back to me on that. I was preparing to come for a follow-up tonight and want to be clear about the process for updating the town maps. You will see I inquired of the town administrator on 14/21. I was told that there was an explanation of how we fix the maps, and I'm not going to read all of this part of it. But when I followed up, after that, what I was told was, I'll paraphrase here, there's an explanation, but it's really long and complicated, so we're not going to do it over text. Fine, can I have an appointment? Yes, but it's not going to be until the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I was out of town Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Contacted the TA at the end of last week to see about following up on that, to see what is the process. And let's see, I'm just going to skip forward. Oh, I was told at that time, due to my workload of covering in the tax collector's office from now until Christmas, we won't be able to meet before then. I hope I've explained the process so we don't have to meet. But we still can if the need still exists. Not meeting together, and this is again quoting from Naomi's note to me, not meeting together is not going to mess anything up as far as getting the tax maps corrected. The tax maps are done annually after the first of the year, on and on. She also says, you will see I've included the Board of Selectmen. I would like to take the opportunity to provide a follow-up to your questions and concerns maybe during the public comment on November 15th. As a result of the volunteer for the Ware Winter Wanderer Snowmobile Club trying to do research and not knowing that tax maps are not always accurate, the discrepancy has been noted. Again, it wasn't a tax map that was provided to the town. It was the Society of Protections of New Hampshire Forests map, including boundaries with an overlay of the tax maps. When you appeared before the board, there was some insinuation that the board granted access to the Snowmobile Club through your land without involving you. Yes, there was. Perhaps permission was granted by the Board of Selectmen and the Winter Wanderers for the parcel and nothing more. However, this doesn't take into account that the town also authorized the cutting of trees off its property for the passage of this, and that passage to the right was wholly on my property. The board cannot grant permission for something that does not belong to the town. Well, obviously, but the point is they did. They did. Now, you can paraphrase here and say, well, it didn't really happen. We didn't grant permission to do this, but you did grant permission. What happened was the landowner discovered it, pursued it, stopped it. That's not the same thing. Had the actions of the Snowmobile Club followed through with what the town had given them the authority to do, there would have been an infraction. There would have been a problem. They would have cut trees not on their land. They would have passed through land that they didn't have any agreement to do so. Now, mind you, that during all this conversation, I was trying to find a way to work with the Snowmobile Club and the town, which is why I contacted several times. All right. I'm going to skip some of this because it'll be in the minutes, and anybody out there who's interested. And by the way, that camera angle's terrible for the person standing here, especially when you got nothing up top.
I can see you.
But
It sees you.
no, I'm sure it sees me. It's just, not my best angle. So I was told at the end here that there was no land dispute. The town did no wrong in what it granted to the club. At the end of the day, if there's a piece of private land that can't be connected to ends of the trail, then the trail's closed, plain and simple. You all received my reply, and it's pretty pointed, and I'm not going to go into it, although it's attached in the letter here. But basically, I call, to paraphrase, BS. That's not an accurate statement. It wasn't just that a mistake was made. Though a mistake was made, it was that the town, acting on several different levels at the Conservation Commission and at this body, agreed to that mistake because they didn't do their due diligence and look at the maps. And then when I brought it to the attention of the town and pointed out it needed to be followed up on, after I left the meeting, you decided not to do that. All right. On multiple occasions, the town failed to do so. Oops, I'm sorry, I skipped into that. Then I will skip here. Subsequent to these communications, I reviewed all of the Ware Conservation Commission and BOS minutes and videos for the past years and mentioned. Please note that in addition to inferring transgressions representatives, the town also authorized cutting trees, including witness trees. Summary of concerns and suggested remedies. The BOS took an inappropriate action based in part on misinformation provided by staff and third-party organizations that inferred passage and the taking of trees on land not belonging to the town, despite having clear evidence showing that was the wrong call. Further, they did so on the advice of a conflicted party, namely the administrator. And what I mean by conflicted party on both the administrator's part and several members of the Ware Conservation Commission is that they are officers of the Snowmobile Club in question. Now, we all know the rules on that. If you have a conflict of interest, you're required to disclose it. In fact, I've looked at your commentary to the Conservation Commission on similar matters recently where people on that board failed to disclose conflicts of interest. However, you also appointed someone to that clearly stated in their application to the town that they had a conflict of interest, but there wasn't a discussion about what they could or couldn't, should or shouldn't vote on when they're expending resources under the Work Conservation Commission. You have, to my knowledge, 2 officers, and I believe, I could be wrong, at least 2 other members of the snowmobile organization sitting on your Work Conservation Commission, making decisions about spending money, about the use of town lands, and specifically and pointedly excluding other groups from those accesses. Again, I've reviewed all of the notes, I've reviewed the videos, and time again, there's talk about exclusively setting aside rights for the snowmobiles, but not other wheeled, motorized vehicles, etc. So, at any rate, further, so here's my requested remedy. The Board of Selectmen should acknowledge their error and strike any agreement to let the WWW utilize town property abutting the NBAC/Drake properties until such time as appropriate corrections are made. You should also establish an ethics committee as suggested numerous times this year, including by your own moderator. Next issue, multiple issues of conflict of interest with several members of the WCC being WWW members and in several cases officers of that organization, not identifying their conflict of interest nor recusing themselves from multiple votes to support the WW while at the same time intentionally limiting group access. I will detail my concerns with the Commission directly, but as they are appointed by the BOS, their conduct is reflective, and by that I mean on you. I note that as recently as 10/31, the BOS Vice Chair admonished the WCC Chair for failing to disclose a conflict of interest. The BOS approved an appointment of this same officer, that's out of context. The next sentence should say that they approved the appointment of a WWW officer to the WCC despite clear public statements about his organizational affiliations and no discussion or admonishment to recuse himself from any appropriate topics. All right, I'm going to skip further ahead here because I'm being a little redundant. So, I asked that the BOS review the 512 meeting videos of the WCC where they will see the new member of the board being tasked with drafting a legal easement on town property for the WWW, while that member is in fact an acting officer and should have recused. Requested remedy. Retract all votes made by the conflicted commission members and ask for fresh motions and appropriate recusals. Establish an ethics committee as suggested numerous times. Another requested remedy is consider probing prospective members of boards and commissions on potential conflict, in any case providing relevant training on the regulation and law. All right. At least one member of the WCC appears to have violated the no right to trespass as well as the ex parte provisions of the law when they met with the WW trail manager on the property without being directed by the board, as I understand it, and discussed the arrangements. As we know, if you're a member of a board or commission, and I was in this town, I am currently an elected official, but I was also the chair of an agricultural commission, you may recall. And you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to have ex parte conversations. What that means, folks, is outside the room, having another conversation with a third party who's interested when other town folks don't have access to that same, or what was discussed or agreed to. I also go on to say the TA appears to have been involved in several ex parte conversations regarding the proposal to allow the use. Requested remedy, admonish the TA to refrain from commentary on conflicted subjects. Further advise all town representatives to refrain from directly representing the interests of any third-party organizations which they may belong to. Establish an ethics committee and provide appropriate training to town employees, particularly pecuniary employees, those who deal with money, on conflicts of interest. In closing, my confidence in the governance of this town has been significantly diminished by the actions of its representatives. It is clear that any citizen looking for fair and equitable treatment for the town should be concerned and should look more closely at what is going on, and I, for one, intend to do so. You have my attention. I hope that I have yours. I look forward to the board's response in a timely manner. Any questions?
No, sir.
Take that for the minutes. L-U-K-E.
Any other public comment?
Good evening, Richard Butt. Mr. Chairman, I wish the board would review the requirements of public comment. It seems to change depending on who the chairman is. There are times where we're told, public comment only, we're not going to give you any answers. And there are times somebody comes up here and there's a dialogue between the selectmen or other people regarding a comment. The issue that was brought forward tonight seems to, maybe in my opinion, should have been on the agenda as an item, not a public comment. 30 minutes, we're into the meeting, and kind of makes it difficult for other people to get up to speak about an issue or two. And normally, when people get up to speak at public comment, it's maybe for 5 minutes. This thing here that's being discussed tonight was discussed. Maybe it should be on the agenda so people are aware that it's going to be discussed. Had no idea that this was going to be brought up tonight, and may be interested. Some people may be interested to know that it would have been brought up tonight. So I think you really need to start looking at public comment, little rules, when it should be, when it shouldn't be, how long people should be up here to ask a question. So that's my 2 cents. But apparently there's a need for a code enforcement vehicle or building inspector vehicle. And I'm speaking against using any surplus money to purchase that vehicle. In my opinion, this vehicle's 15, 16 years old. As far as I know, it's never showed up on the capital improvements plan, and it should have. A 15-year-old vehicle is getting ready to be retired. The capital improvements committee is not just submitting things that are requested by the department heads. They're looking 3 to 5, 8 years ahead to see what's needed. And this isn't on their horizon at all. It wasn't on their radar, and it should have been. And if you think using, at least in my opinion, if you're using surplus money to purchase something, it's urgent. It's absolutely necessary. Basically, if you're going to use money out of surplus to purchase that vehicle for code enforcement, whatever, you're saying it's more important than a police vehicle. You're saying maybe it's more important than a highway truck. Because if you do have enough money in surplus, it could be used either to purchase in whole a police vehicle, or it could be used to offset the cost of a highway vehicle. That, to me, is a more meaningful use of that money than it is to code enforcement. And these problems didn't show up last week or 2 weeks ago. We hear about rust, and it's a safety issue. Well, it's been inspected, and somebody passed inspection. But you're giving that a priority over other vehicles. And in my opinion, you should be looking at maybe working out a deal with the police department, maybe buying one of they probably want 2 vehicles, but I think they look at what the voters would approve, and they're putting 1 vehicle on the warrant, and maybe purchasing 1 vehicle out of surplus, and working something out with the police department where you could get a vehicle back to be used for the code enforcement. It's not a full-time vehicle. Certainly the Ford Explorer that's used by the police department would be sufficient for code enforcement, but at least the discussions should take place, and I'm afraid that they don't even take place, that it's thrown at the board and you're going to make a decision. So I would appreciate it if you would reconsider or really look a little bit deeper into the purchasing of this vehicle and what the implications are to other departments. Thanks.
Thanks, Dick. Tom?
I'll be very brief. A few weeks ago, I spoke in relation to trying to find a way to use the town hall again. And just a suggestion, because apparently there is money in the cleaning contract. I know your new contract has money for cleaning the town hall. So I assume the old contract had that too. So if the cleaning service is available to clean it, perhaps if you've considered opening it for use just like one day on Saturdays or on Sundays, one or the other, and when you knew the cleaning service was going to come the next day anyways, it would have it ready for the next week's use without the lingering signs of COVID or whatever. I truly understand why that you're cautious in opening it up for groups, but I hate to see that permanently closed off for use to the public, and I already brought that up earlier. But just something to think about, if you looked at it as, okay, we can have it on Sundays because we know the cleaning lady's gonna come on Saturdays because we know the cleaning lady's gonna come on Sundays to do this building and that building. So it can be refreshed at that time, and it'll be ready for the next week. So just, maybe that's an interim approach until we have a safer environment altogether. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Anyone else public comment? Okay. Next scheduled item would be Frank for a tax bill issue.
Frank Campana. Like just a brief statement before I start. I have a list of what I want to touch upon, but probably won't do me any good. First off, I would like from the board to consider the issue that I have and not the person that has the issue. So if you can call it an open mind or impartial, I don't care, you know, something along that line. And I would also like to request that if Naomi, at some point in time, as acting as tax collector, I've already spoken to her a couple of times, if she can help, you know, explain a little bit better the issue that I have to you folks. And I would like to get a resolution. And I'd like to get a resolution by, I think it's December 23rd, 24th, by tax bill time, so we can put this to bed. I received my tax bills day before Thanksgiving, and this issue has been prominent to me and my wife since then. Okay, the issue is, I own a piece of property. That's not the issue. It's a three-sided piece of property, just shy of an acre, and it borders my property line on two sides, and the third side is, you know, an abutters. So it's a right triangle. I want to think of it that way. I've owned the property for 40 years plus. I didn't bother looking back when it was surveyed and when we purchased it, but it's been a long time. And ever since, I've received two tax bills, one for my house property and one for the singular property. And this was last June. And I want you to note, try to highlight a little bit later, that there's a town-aware stamp on it, dated and initialed. This is my proof that I paid taxes on that property. All right, whether I have to prove it today, 5 years from now, whenever I can prove it. Okay. Well, when I got the bill, my wife says she opened it. She said, "Well, we didn't get a bill for the piece of property." I said, "Oh, okay." So I had to wait for Friday's mail, wait for Saturday's mail. We got nothing. Wait for Monday's mail. You know, usually they combine the bills. I've stuffed tax envelopes in the past and try to save a couple of bucks on an envelope, I guess. Well, never happened. I was desperately trying to get a hold of Naomi that following Monday, and I left a message through somebody else that my concerns and if she'd give me a call back. And she did. It was late in the afternoon. I was a little surprised to get it quite that late, but in any event, you know, my message has been heard. So here's the deal. By me not having a tax bill, all right, it has serious consequences for me, very serious consequences. Because if I don't have a paid tax bill, I can't prove that I pay taxes on it. There's no bill that exists. Where do you go and you pay cash for something, and you don't get a receipt? Not too many places. So I can't prove when it was paid. I can't prove that it was paid. The other thing that bothers me, by not receiving a bill, I'm put in a position of not being able to prove it's been paid, and I have to now, it's like some other departments, I am guilty until proven innocent. All right? And I don't like being put in that position. We've always paid as we go along, and the only bills we have is what come in monthly, and that's it. Okay? So I kind of take pride in that. Some of the consequences by not being able to prove that that bill was paid, all right? Come after December 23rd, all right? Now I'm subjected or subject to paying, what is it, the 8% APR, all right? Not through my fault. I can't prove that it was paid, all right? So I'm put in that position. Further that, it could be to the extent of either, next year, the year after that, that somebody was going to go through the tax bills and say, wait a minute, Campana didn't pay the December tax bill on that 1 acre of land. I know you smile, but don't tell me it doesn't happen, all right? And that's serious. That's serious to me, and I would like it to be serious to the board members. It seems to be serious with Naomi, and I will say that she is looking into it. She gave me a pretty good explanation, which I will, try to further to you folks. But it's a situation that should not happen, all right? It's totally irresponsible for me not to get a tax bill. Here I'm crying about taxes. Well, what I understand from Naomi, there's the second part of this, is my June bill, which is this bill here, all right, it was a $10, oh shoot, I took my house one.
It was $10.
Right, I know. Well, I wanted to be able to show it, show it up in case you had a question. It was $10. That was my June bill. Now, Naomi tells me, from what she had found out, unless she knew ahead of time, I did not receive a bill for that piece of land this December because when the bills get printed out, the machine, I'll use that word, does not print out a zero balance bill. And the zero balance comes out.
No, negatives. It prints zeros.
Oh, okay, does not,
Yeah.
all right, does not,
Yeah.
okay. And that's why I thought
I
I'd
can
need
take
your
it from
help.
here if you'd like. I mean, go ahead.
Well,
I'll let
okay,
you go ahead.
Okay. So, as she explained to me, she said that, now with the new assessment, the assessment on that piece of property decreased. It went from $800 down to $500. That, well, wish it was my other property. But that decrease, combined with the tax rate, the lower tax rate, all right, it brought it down to, for the half a year, it brought it down to $4.30. And my understanding is that I got the negative tax bill, or I got the machine printed out a negative, because that $10 covered the $4.30. All right? So I need a tax bill. I need a tax bill that can be paid. To further that dollar amount, the town now has $5.70 balance of my money. How do I get the abatement? I can't. And it says right on this bill will suffice. It has a line on the tax bill. The first line is the first bill, dollar amount, paid. The second line is abated slash paid. So I'm looking for an abated bill and being paid. How do I get it? Where do I get it? You know, I don't like being put in this position. And because the machine can't print out a negative tax bill, all right, it's my tax money that's paying, that you guys spend to pay for that service, you know? And that service is inadequate. This is serious stuff. If you don't think it is, you know, you can, you know, in your mind, you can say, well, look who's talking, you know. This is serious stuff, and I don't like it, and I don't like being put in that position. I shouldn't be put in it, no taxpayer. You know, I'm not gonna say that I'm not gonna say I'm the only one with this issue. I don't know how many there were. Naomi indicated there were some. Maybe they don't care, I don't know, but I do. I want, if I have a debt, I want a bill, and I want a bill that says paid. All right? So I requested to be put on the agenda because I know it was, you know, I wanted the time available to me, and I wanted you to give me the time available. And I know public comment, you don't like to give answers or thoughts, and okay, but here's the opportunity. And I don't want to hear, well, this is the first that we've heard of it. Again, I'm not critical of Naomi. I'm critical, I mean, there has to be some finger pointing somewhere. I don't know where. But if I can't get a printed bill as a first option that says paid and abated to the tune of $4.30, I don't want, you know, the dollar amount doesn't amount to much, okay? But, you know, it's the practice. You know, I don't want John Osborne to give me for him as a selectman to keep my $4. I don't want you, Rick, as a selectman to keep my $4. All right? Jack, the same thing. I don't want you to keep my $4. I want a bill in my hand that I can prove, all right, 3, 4, 5 years down the road and collecting 8% interest, or you know, being charged 8% interest, that I can't prove it. How am I going to prove that it's been paid? How am I going to prove, you know, by word of mouth, to say, oh yeah, well, I had it was a $10 amount in June, and that went to pay the December bill. That ain't good enough. I want it in paper. And if I can't get a printed bill and an abatement, all right, I would request for the taxpayer, slash Naomi, all right, something written to me with a town seal on it, explaining the issue, why I didn't get a tax bill, and that I am not, but the obligation has been satisfied. So that's, I think that's about all I had. Print a correct and accurate tax bill, abated tax bill, or produce a letter of explanation of why no tax bill. You know. And if, you know, if the company, you know, that provides the software can't do it, find somebody that can. I'm sure out of the whole town or out of the whole state that this company provides software to, that this hasn't been an issue. I mean, I have no way of proving it, but I find it hard to believe. You know? So I would like some type of comment tonight while I'm standing here.
Can I
and
help?
I asked.
If the board
Oh.
allows me to help you?
Yeah.
Is it all right?
Yeah, means.
So Frank and I have discussed this, and he's not alone. There's a lot of people in the same boat. It happens when a small parcel and the assessment goes down and the rate goes down. So let's take a step back, and December is our final tax bill, okay? So the assessment of $500 times 1720 would be your annual tax bill, which came out to $8.60.
Right, right.
So $8.60 minus your first half of $10 means I owe you $1.40, not $4. And it happens because the assessment went down and the rate went up. So the assessment went from $800 to $5.
Right.
The rate went from $23.95 to $17.20. So every year, the July bill is a prepayment based on half a year of the December prior. So if you take half a bill, which yours was $10, the system doesn't print negative bills. I'm happy, I've got several others that are in the same boat, and it all seems to be a lower rate of assessment with a lower rate of a tax bill. We're talking, most everyone that has brought it to my attention, Frank included, it's less than an acre. So what I had suggested I would do is I need to find out, A, why we don't print negative tax bills, and if it's simply, I mean, we probably owe you $1.40. There's probably a way of pulling the negatives to figure out who we owe the money back to. I haven't searched it long enough, but when I printed the bills, don't print negatives, we do print zeros. We pull the zeros for effort of not spending postage on a zero tax bill. So we pull the zeros out, but the negatives don't print. So there's got to be a way of pulling, which I don't know, Frank, and that's what I said I would ask Avatar to do.
I tried to make
is
that clear.
ask-
Yep,
Yep,
I
is
understand that.
see if I can pull a negative bills, and those people we owe money to. $1.40, $2, whatever it is, we owe you money, but it's not the $4. Because your July payment is really just a prepayment of whatever December is. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
$8.60 is all you owed us for the entire year.
Right.
But you gave me 10, not knowing how it was gonna, how we knew the assessment, or how did we know the tax rate? We didn't. So when it all shakes out, I owe you $1.40. So
Okay.
whether I can print a negative bill or put it on letterhead and cut a check with letterhead, I'm more than happy to do that. And as I had said, and I'm willing to do that to anybody else, but I have to get a hold of Avatar. I don't know how to find the negatives.
Yeah. No, and
We
I.
can.
Right, and I.
And we owe you money. I've already
And I
stated
said,
that,
well,
yes.
I mean, that's the two part of it. I mean,
Yeah.
my biggest concern is a bill that I can
Sure.
hold up to somebody if somebody says, well, you didn't pay your tax. And when I say somebody, I'm talking about the town.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't pay your tax bill. All right, I have no way of proving it. You know, what am I gonna say? If we have a different tax collector, you know.
And you will.
No, Naomi has a handle on it, you know, and she's gonna send me a bill. She says, well, you're in arrears, 8%. Or we're gonna put a lien on your property.
Yep.
You know, am I gonna give that explanation, if I could do it as well as she did? Am I gonna give that explanation to an individual? They ain't gonna hold up anywhere.
I'd be happy to put it on paper and then
Yeah.
find out about the $1.40 later. It's not a
Well,
problem.
that's what I thought it was, you know,
I mean,
okay.
Frank, this is the first time in 7 years I've heard of this situation occurring. And I'm not, just the way you word things is why I smile sometimes. It's just, sometimes I take it in joke rather than in
Okay,
jest.
and
But the
I'm not
legitimacy,
gonna be critical of that.
but the legitimacy of what you're asking right now, I think is 100% valid. I'm not discrediting that at all. Whether it's $1, $100, $1,000.
Yeah,
I think it's legit. It definitely is 100% legitimate, and that's what I think happens when this whole reassessment goes through. Obviously, as explained by yourself and by Naomi.
Yes.
And I would, like you said, if I was in your shoes, I would want something on paper with town, like exactly what you said, that says, I don't owe anything. And as a matter of fact, I have $1.40 credit, or whatever it may be for the amount. I 100% think there's legitimacy here, and I would like, I mean, I don't know how the machine works, how the system works, but there should be something that comes across
There's probably a report.
from the town to you, the taxpayer, that says, hey, you're all set, here's what occurred as far as the system, and then you are paid in full.
Well, and that's why I wanted to bring, my intention was not to circumvent Naomi.
Yep.
My purpose was to make you folks aware of the issue also. Maybe Naomi already did that to you, I have no idea.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
But if she didn't, you know, hopefully I got
appreciate
that
that.
base covered.
No, and that's fine, you weren't the only one.
Yeah.
And I just need to figure out how to do the negatives, because I don't know.
Right.
And it may be hanging out there in the credits or whatever to assign and cut checks to, I don't really know.
So
know
do
that.
do you think, I know with abatements, there's a certain time of the year to file for abatements?
Till March 31st.
Okay, so would you maybe suspect that because of this issue, that I don't have to wait till Lent to file for an abatement?
No,
Or-
I don't
or-
even
or could it
expect
be
you to,
hand-
I don't
could it
even
be-
expect you to file for an abatement. I think that we can generate a letter. I just need to figure out is there a report that I have others that I know about? I've had two people today had the same exact issue, went from 800 to 500.
Well,
Same
it's a shame
issue.
they're not, it's a shame they're not here, I mean, but that's okay, I don't mind, I'm only speaking for myself.
Yeah, no, I
I'm
get
not
it.
speaking
I get
for
it.
anybody else. You know, maybe they don't care to have a paid bill, I don't know. So that's the type of response that I was kind of hoping for through being on the agenda.
Sure.
No, I think there's legitimacy to it 100%.
And again, I would, if possible, I would like it done before the expiration, you know, the due date. And that way I don't have to worry about an 8% or, you know,
You're not
Get-
gonna have 8%.
gonna get cleaned up.
You won't have 8%.
You, you don't know us, so there's no 8%
Yeah.
at that point.
You should let them go after Frank so they pay you 8%.
Pardon me? Well, I thought it was a little bit more than that, but I guess maybe you need to explain that again. Again, and it's
Yeah.
not necessarily, I mean, the money is secondary to that.
Right, right, and I don't mind putting a thing on letterhead explaining what I did and saying that you don't owe us anything, if that makes you feel better.
Yeah, I
Paid in
think,
full.
well,
Well, in absence of a printed bill
Sure, you
indicating
want
what
something,
happened.
yeah, I can do that, I don't have a
I
problem
would
with it.
like,
You can have the letter before the 23rd, sure.
okay. If you'd be able to do that, I'd appreciate it.
and like you know, like we're kind of alluding to, is there's others, and I think that
There
there's,
is,
you know,
yep.
even if it's a generic response, we'll say,
gotta be a
at least,
report.
everybody that is in that boat receives notification.
It's gotta be a
Well,
report
for me
generated
personally,
somewhere.
if Naomi needs to include numbers, you know, dollar amounts, you know,
I will.
again,
I will.
again, you know, referring back to the $10.
Sure.
Covering the, you know, $4.
I can put it in exactly how I explained it to
Should be
you.
a report
I can do
someplace
that.
that shows finances.
I would
that
like to
we're-
think so.
It's like it's overpaid. There's an
Right.
overpaid balance in there, and there's a way to.
Yeah, I
do
haven't
it.
had time to check the credits, so.
So,
Okay.
and that has to go, probably sit
Right.
down
I'm
with
sure it's an
Avatar.
extra step that nobody anticipated, but, I mean, this,
No, it probably
this,
doesn't happen that often.
this
Yeah, I
way.
don't think.
But you'd think that Avatar must have run across it someplace.
Well, right,
before.
but I haven't asked yet.
Okay. All right,
Morton's supposed to
so
get the bills out.
I'll expect to just hold on and get some type
Mm-hmm. Yep.
of response and see what happens, so.
Thank you,
okay?
Frank.
All right,
Thank you, Frank.
thank you, folks.
All right, that brings us to the Pine Tree Riot 250th celebration facility use, Tom Flaherty.
Thank you. Name is Tom Flaherty, Vice Chair of the Ware Historical Society. Just pass these out while I'm talking. In April of 2022 is the 250th anniversary of the Pine Tree Riot, which Ware is famous for. The Historical Society has been planning quite extensively a celebration and commemoration on April 9th. Excuse me. We're going to have a theatrical play, historical exhibits. We're having VIP descendants of the Pine Tree Riot participants coming, local author reading, food trucks, museum tours, etc. We got a big agenda planned in the works. We were planning it in the Ware Middle School due to the uncertainty of the town hall. And we were just informed the other day that the middle school will not let us use the stage because of the spring play that's going to be taking place that week. So centerpiece of our event is this play, and we now no longer have a location to do that. And quite honestly, using the stone building library complex area is much more amenable to an event like this, along the lines of like an old home day scale of things. So I'm here requesting that we be able to use the town hall for an afternoon in April. It's, like I said, it's a better location overall for the event, and the middle school is not available for this. We would have to figure out a way to do this play that's being prepared and produced right now by John Stark high school students, as a matter of fact, and the theater teacher. And so that's basically why I'm here, is to, along the lines of what Tom was mentioning earlier, request even just really a couple hours use of the town hall for this. We're expecting, 100 to 200 people total to attend this throughout the day, and maybe under 100 or so in the town hall for the play. Not everybody's going to go to every event that we're planning. We would also, whatever the requirements are, we would take care of the cleaning and the disinfecting or whatever the need may be. So that's basically why I'm here, is to try to secure a location for this important piece of the event.
Any comments?
With the issues we got going on right now, then I guess we keep it on the burner and look at it as the time gets closer.
John?
Yeah, I mean, knock on wood, hopefully things will calm down by then.
Yeah, my own feeling, Tom, on this would be the fact that we pencil it in as a, we bookmark you for that day, and as time clicks off closer, we evaluate, similar to what, Mr. Close said, is we reevaluate where we're at with this ever-changing
Sure.
world we live in.
Yeah, I understand. It's dynamic.
But to put a hard no down tonight, I don't feel that that's appropriate for this board. My own feeling. So I would say we pencil you in, fill the use form out, et cetera. And again, as time approaches, maybe best
Review it when it
yeah
gets
review
closer.
it when it gets closer.
Sure. Yeah. and come back.
Personally, I don't have a problem with it.
Yep.
But again, times could change between now and then.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you had any specific requirements that I could address or mitigate in the time that I have between now and then, only 4 months.
Because I don't think that we've
You don't have
crossed
anything.
that path yet.
Right.
As far as, I think we were going to talk about it. I'm pretty sure that Selectman Van and I had kind of talked about maybe discussing the town hall functions within the next few meetings.
Yeah.
As far as, reopening for whether it be, as close as a Saturday or something like that. But I think we have to get a sturdy set of rules as far as facility use in these times.
Sanitizing,
On how the town is going to require you to sanitize and leave the building after use.
Right.
Which we haven't done that yet.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, that's. I'm hoping that will materialize at some point, and I can respond to that.
I think
for
it
sure.
will, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, just for reference, we had a historical society Christmas party in the middle school cafeteria yesterday. Naomi was there, others were there.
Yeah.
About 100 people or so, and the requirements were minor. We just had to set up chairs and desks and wipe them down with Lysol cloth kind of thing.
Right.
And it worked very well. A lot of people wore masks anyways, but the requirements were kind of minimal. So I just want to give you that for reference as well. And we'll do whatever we have to do, again, whenever those requirements get materialized, we can respond to that.
Yeah.
That time of year is just a little tricky outdoors, the weather can be.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah. Could be 2 feet of snow, could be sunny and 60.
I know. Yeah, and we have
Welcome to New Hampshire.
a long lead time of planning, especially this play with a lot of people on the hook. Yeah, okay, so I'll fill out the form and come back in a couple months and,
Yeah.
or keep in touch
Or
with.
we can keep in touch with you. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I said, I'd like to definitely go over within the next few meetings, again, of touching upon
Yeah.
if we can do that.
that would be appreciated.
Yeah.
Yeah, we only get an anniversary of 250.
Once
something like
every
this.
250?
Once, well, an anniversary of that scale every once or twice in a lifetime, depending on who you are, so, and it's the Historical Society itself, so we have the structure and the insurance and all that kind of stuff, so. Okay, well,
Can I just say something?
sure.
So,
you.
I just, if you're all set, I just would like to thank you for yesterday.
Oh, you're welcome.
I don't know who else to thank, so I know my granddaughters had a great time.
Good.
You did a nice job with the Christmas party, and if you could share, I'll say this as a personal person, my girls had a great time.
Great. That's the goal.
Can't wait till next year, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know who to thank. I know
Yeah.
Historical Society and the library, and I don't know who else. Is it DECA?
The John Stark Deca Club was there.
Yeah.
Yep, the library, Clay, was there, and Rhonda Gregg.
Yeah,
was-
well, if you pass it on, I don't want to miss anybody by naming names.
Yeah.
I know a few people, but I think
Definitely
it was
pass it
well
on.
done. There was a good atmosphere.
Yeah, it was fun.
But
A lot of
thank
little
you.
kids had a good time.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Glad you enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom.
All right?
Thank you.
Very
Thanks
good.
very much. Appreciate it.
Just go lay down somewhere, would you?
Department head committee items. Don't see any of them kicking around,
Nope.
so. Town moderator, no?
It was said several times I was gonna come in and say the same thing, but it's been said for me again.
Yeah, get up and do
Yep, say it this time.
At the microphone, Eileen Meany, I'm town moderator. I know that you're in your process, your budget process and warrant article process. I just want to keep reiterating, I really do believe that an ethics committee, and reinvigorating that ethics committee is something that our town could really benefit from. Our community is asking for it, and I think it would be beneficial to all involved. That's all.
Thank you. In the crowd, okay. That moves us to balance of smaller budgets with Beth.
You gonna use the, you can use the whiteboard or?
Yeah, try it. I'd like to try it on the new camera.
I need the, she needs, no, it's this one here.
She gonna use what, this one?
Yeah, she wants me to move the camera around. Do you have the
The clicky, yeah.
picture on? Yeah, it is hot in here, please, thank you.
thought it might be.
Yeah, I just,
Outside either.
it's starting to cool off.
A little bit.
Yeah, probably still too small.
That's what it looks like on TV, Beth.
Yeah, still too small. Keep trying.
It's really
Six
small.
and six
Can you
point
see it?
font. I can barely see it from here.
Yeah.
My eye's pretty good.
It's what?
Yeah.
Alright, you wanna go back? Now that we've made everybody dizzy.
Yeah.
Good night.
Okay, so we're gonna do all the small, somewhat small departments this evening. I'm just gonna go over, the accounts that have any changes to them, if that's okay.
Okay.
Okay. There's no changes to the town officer salaries, unless you guys get a warrant article. For the town officers' non-salary department, the hosted email, there's an increase of $4,300. That's because our email hosted is $780 a month. The managed IT services, you guys went out to bid this year and awarded it. So the new proposed amount is $31,800, which is a $15,000 increase. And then we just moved some money
That
around.
was with our current vendor, correct?
Correct,
Which was
Yes.
still significantly lower than others.
significantly lower.
Yes.
Yes, quite a bit.
For the postage and the postage meter service, I just moved the money back where we always go over on postage meter service, so I have to take it out of postage, so just put it back where it needs to be. For the books and the updates, $275 is adequate to cover the expenses that come out of that line. Same with miscellaneous fees or recording fees, reducing that to $200. It should adequately cover the expenses. For the election department, we have 3 elections coming up in 2022. So she is increasing everything. based on the 3 elections. And the computer support, we got the agreement number, and that increased from $250 to $325, so there's a $75 increase in that line. And the other items are related to the elections. The tax collecting department, we are proposing a part-time employee in that department, which we have found recently with the vacancies in this building where the help is needed and where we need to get manpower. And in the tax collecting department, we feel comfortably that it can be covered by a part-time employee. So because of that, there is a decrease to that department overall by $29,709. For assessing, the entire budget is, we're asking to increase it by $1,687, and that's based on the potential new hire. That can change. Legal expenses, I did reduce the labor relations line from 25,100 to 20,000. We never seem to reach 25,100, which is good.
Do you think that's gonna make a difference with the fact that there's a collective bargaining negotiations coming up again this year?
Next year.
Is it this year or next year?
Next year.
Next year, okay, sorry about that, so. It'll be 2023, not 2022.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, next year.
I stand corrected.
No problem. Finance Administration Department, that total budget was increased by $16,673. Majority of that is based on the pay increase that was given back in 2019. Unfortunately, we haven't had a proposed budget passed since then. The town clerk, their budget is an increase of $1,215. The majority of that is due to postage. A lot more car registrations are being done by mail. The good news is we get the postage reimbursement on the revenue side because of that.
So that's like in
Yep.
and out.
And out. The expenses on one side, the revenues on the other. The Selectmen's office, the increase mostly is based on a raise the BOS gave in 2021. Because of that raise, payroll taxes, New Hampshire retirement system, we're all affected by that. The auditor's contract was never passed because we have the default budget, so there's a $225 increase in that line, but we're in the second of our 3rd-year contract for them. Any questions so far? Cable committee, just need a little moving around so they can come in at default. Trustees of the trust funds, no change there, so they're coming in at default. Land use, there's a small increase based on the proposed of the new hire, the wage increase, so therefore the payroll tax and New Hampshire retirement system increases. Government building, there's a large increase to government building, mostly due to the recent lawn care contract that was just awarded last month. I was able to play around with the electric and the heat. Finally, hopefully, if we get this budget passed, the amounts will be reflective of our actual usage. Cemeteries, the increase there again is the mowing contract that was just signed last month. On the insurances, we have a huge decrease in our general liability and property. Again, that's based on that default number has been there for 3 years. We
Okay.
keep asking to reduce it to get into the proposed budget, but we get a default. Small increase to the advertising and regional. Again, I reduced the advertising by 300 just because we've never used all $1,000 to try to offset the increase to the dues that we have. Code enforcement, there's a large increase to that budget with the new hire, the part-time hire. Again, the wages increase, you have payroll tax increases. There's a large decrease in that because they're eliminating one of the computer softwares. The forest fire budget, there's an increase there, and that's mostly due to the BOS, increased a stipend for the forest fire warden, back in 2020. Street lighting, able to reduce that by about $400, again, based on usage. Health department, just a small decrease, just because lines haven't been used to their extent. Welfare, again, a small increase there, mostly due, wholly due to the raise the BOS gave in 2021. Patriotic purposes coming in at default. Conservation, they have a slight decrease because the transcriber, the wages for the transcriber, those duties are now being done by the administrative assistant. That's why there was an increase to her line. She took over those duties. Economic development, there's no change there. Debt service, that came in at default. And that is it. So for all the non-large departments, we have an increase of $5,637. Any questions?
Which largely is the 3
The
elections.
elections, yeah. And those, and that even includes those large contracts.
Yeah. Any questions from board members?
No?
Not right now.
Recognize Finance Committee at this time. Negative, okay. Just want to state that obviously some of the changes that we've seen in these are due to current times. The operating budget, the default budget we've been on is 3 years old going into this year, so that's, like I said, that's where we're at as far as trying to restructure personnel, retain good personnel, and again,
Replace some.
meet the needs, replace retirees and meet the needs of the town for 2022. So,
We need to get our budget passed.
oh, yeah,
Okay?
to reflect current times. All right, brings us to the manifest. Is there a back page of this? No, I
Did,
guess not. What?
Did you sign everything? Of
course I did,
Do you
yes.
want to take the box back?
I looked at my other email. I don't know how I did it.
She'll make sure there's 3 before she leaves here.
Oh, I know. Yeah. They'll be held to pay if she comes back down without 3 signatures. Yeah, I went through it. All right, move to order treasurer to sign payroll accounts payables checks dated December 9th, 2021, is including the following manifest. Payroll manifest is $71,641.10 for weekly payroll. Accounts payable manifest $70,770.78. Hillsborough County taxes, $1,105,514. John Stark accounts payable, $250,000. Ware School District, $300,000, for a total of $1,797,925.88. Following manifest previously ordered to be signed at the November 15th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Oops. Hi, how are you? Payroll manifest of $60,745.51 for checks dated 11/10. Accounts payable manifest $21,174.16. Checks dated 11/24. Supplemental accounts payable $13,185.66. Checks dated 11/24. Supplemental payroll manifest $55.78 for employee check dated 11/18. Payroll manifest $71,582.63. Checks dated 12/2. And accounts payable manifest of $103,967.19 for checks dated 12/2. As there is no selectmen's meeting scheduled for December 13th, further order treasurer to sign payroll checks dated December 16th, estimated to be about $75,000, and further order treasurer to sign up the amount of $90,000 for accounts payable that cannot wait until next scheduled meeting. Reports and actual check amounts will be reported to the Board of Selectmen by inclusion in the manifest memo at the next scheduled meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Minutes. 11:05. 11:15.
I'll never get back to that. All right, thank you. I'll see you tomorrow at some point.
Page 1. Page 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. Move to approve the meeting minutes as written.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Abstain.
One
I
abstention.
was only here by phone for one part.
Yeah, well. Thought that counts. Bring us to administrator's report.
All right, Motorola, I've already put you guys, just a reminder, Motorola's, I intend to spend some time with them on the 20th.
Okay.
After you do the DPW department budgets, because we swapped places due to what's going on. Forestry contract, I got one reply. I'm just gonna individually send out to some various towns to get a response, because I put it on the listserv and not everybody replies. So I'll anticipate doing that soon.
Just a question on that, Naomi.
Yeah.
On the forestry, the one that we've revamped and sent over and revamped and sent over,
Yep.
so it's still pending, in other words.
So the Conservation Commission looked at it, made a couple changes that were minor, which were to dollar amounts of the board feet and some other things, and it put the current forester's license number on it. Other than that, they were fine with the wording that we got. That came from Laura. So if you remember right, I put in where,
Yep.
sent it to them. They looked at it, they okayed it, sent it back. Laura looked at the changes and said it was okay. So our next step was, you guys, we didn't know how length of a time you wanted. So we were gonna suggest some area towns as to what their length of time was. And that's where I've kinda stalled at this point.
Oh, we did come up with a time, but okay. That's
No,
fine.
no, you wanted, I think their want was 10 years, but we felt 10 was too long. But the question was 3 or 5.
I was looking at 3, but
So that's where we are.
Well, I think the conservation was at 10, we were at
I looked at.
We were at
3.
1 to
Yeah.
begin with, and then I think we kind of split the middle there at 5 or 3.
Right, but then you asked to see what other towns do, and that's where we
Right, and that's
stopped.
what she's waiting.
Yeah,
on.
the other thing too, I guess, I'd like to find out whether they, because it had been brought up before, is do they put out the harvesting, do they bid that out, or do they just use one?
No, we
logger?
actually put we
The loggers
actually,
as far
they send it to us to put in the newspaper.
Okay, so we do send it out. to
Yeah,
bid
they
out
send it to
there.
the selectman's office to put in the newspaper.
Okay.
So it
As
is
far as
going
the
out.
logging companies, I
Yes.
didn't know, so
Yep.
that was one of the things, the question.
So the tennis court, we all know is gonna be the spring, hopefully. The ARPA, I did have a gentleman come today for the furnace, I'm sorry, for the ACs. His comment was, it might be a while before we can get some, but he's gonna get a price.
Okay.
He said it probably will be spring,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll get a price. Collins Cemetery, I haven't done anything. We'll pursue the abandoned part after. Library, the cemetery, Sexton, we're still working on getting the maps and stuff together and up to date before we actually take over. 9, I have no idea. Sorry, I didn't take 9 off.
Who, do we have anybody in mind for the sexton?
It's not our choice.
Oh,
It's, the sexton is appointed by the cemetery trustees.
okay, that's all I need to know.
So, it would be their choice, but we can, we can discuss that.
So,
2022, we did swap around, so next time we meet, the DPW will be here with his 4 budgets. What I'd like to do is let him do his budget presentation, and then kind of spend the rest of the evening with the Motorola guys.
Yeah.
And I think, John Van and I talked today, he had a couple questions. I asked him to jot them down, send them to me, and I would forward them to Motorola so we could maybe
Be
have a
prepared.
better answer.
Yep.
So if you guys had any questions, if you would individually answer, and I won't, if you guys all have the same question, I don't want to overdate with the same. But if you have something you want answered for that evening, if you could just let them know ahead of time.
Okay.
The building inspector we heard tonight, it's, I mean, the reason I brought it forward to you guys was it's becoming a safety issue to send him out. I think we have to, as the police, fire, and DPW, we have to provide safe equipment for our town employees. Because God forbid, should something happen, whether it be a child in the crosswalk or anybody, or, you know, he can't stop at a stop sign because the brakes are gone. It has passed inspection, but it will not again. So it's reached a point, and I still haven't heard from the bid list, but that's still on my report, and it's not
Is
going
that
away.
something that we should take out of service before something happens?
So let me ask you, what are you gonna do?
Pay mileage?
You're gonna pay mileage, but, my question to you is, what happens if they're in their own car?
We
I don't think so.
take a lot of liability, take on a lot of liability. If something happens, he's on official business.
And he has a
and everything.
car in the winter?
I mean, if, from what I hear, that vehicle does not stop, hardly at all.
You have to plan your stops.
Yeah, and that's, to me, should be taken out of service. We'll figure something out.
You know, I appreciate the understanding, you know, I appreciate trying to work with a PD, but a Dodge Charger isn't gonna get around town either.
No.
You know,
Other dog man.
Puppy paws might, but
Yeah, I don't know if that,
I don't know.
some of the Chargers are all-wheel drive, the puppy paws is.
Yeah, I'm just
front-wheel
saying, but
drive, so-
you're gonna be sending him into job sites
Sites,
where there's gonna
yeah.
be ruts and mud and,
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I know that we, in the short term, I know that we get first refusal at the surplus
And we can look at the auction.
facility.
It doesn't have to be brand new.
Yeah,
Right, that's what I'm saying.
there's
is-
not much in there right now.
No, there's not much in there, but what I'm saying is we get first refusal as a municipality in there.
Yep.
You know, so that might be something to bridge the gap, I'll say.
Well, we've also done that before in Benji's department, if you
Yes,
remember
I
the
remember we had to
Oshkosh
get
came
a,
from there, right?
yeah, well, not only that, we had
Oshkosh.
we had an orange plow truck come from there.
Okay,
When
I
the-
remember
when-
the Oshkosh
When the
coming from
Ford
there.
lost the rear end, we
Yep.
got that international for a short time.
But, yeah, the other thing right now is I don't believe Administrative Services has come out with the bid list yet, so they're not.
That's
getting
probably
rid-
why it's being
They're not
withheld.
getting rid of anything, so it's.
Right, right.
replaced.
But I think we have to just keep a close eye on it.
Mhm.
I think safety is huge for employees.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely.
Is
In
there
any
any
department.
way he could use the ACO vehicle?
For a short time.
I mean, I could ask, I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Town,
I
it's a
ju-
town
I just-
employee, it's a town vehicle.
I don't want that vehicle on the road. I
No.
really don't.
Not for planning stops. That doesn't sound reasonable. That sounds like
And I don't
a high
know, he
liability to
mentioned
the
that the
town.
tires,
Depends on what
Where
you're
you think-
looking for to get as a vehicle to replace it.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for anything fancy,
No, I mean, so it'd be a,
but he's gonna need all-wheel drive or something to get to the job sites. Plus, you're expecting him to go down non-town maintained roads,
Right.
so.
So I would definitely want him in a town vehicle.
yep.
You know. But no, I would definitely propose to ask the police chief
Yep.
if in the time being, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a
No.
dog officer anymore at this
No.
point, right?
Okay, I can ask him, sure.
Yeah.
Eversource, I left it on there because we received two more you had authorized me to sign for Bolton Field. We received one for the firehouse on South Stark Highway and one for the land on Dustin Tavern Road. They need some trimming on that front of our property.
Yep.
So I don't know if you want to sign?
I think status quo the way it was.
You had authorized me to sign?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Then you need a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, and Ricky, you and I, with our heads together, we still forgot. The ex officio updates, I don't think I got anybody anyway but Jack.
Except,
The planning board
and
doesn't
there's nothing on the planning board until January at this point. so
Exactly.
I have an update on mine,
that's
Oh,
that.
the Stone Fund.
okay, let's hear it.
We've been in heated email back and forth. We have, because we've gone from annually to biannually with disbursements.
Okay.
And we have a meeting tomorrow night via Zoom, and we have 4 applicants this time, so they'll be voted on for that tomorrow,
Awesome, thank you.
so.
John won't have an update because John's committee got done way back a while ago. And then, just as my regular schedule, I'm not here tomorrow, but I will be here tomorrow because I have to meet with Chad.
Okay.
So I'll be here part of the day, in and out. The one thing that didn't get put on there, I want to remind you that on Thursday night at 6:30, you all promised you'd be here for a swearing in of the new police officer.
What time was it again?
6:30.
Thursday.
When was that announced? That must have been
When
the
you weren't
15th.
here.
Yeah, when I
You
wasn't
weren't
here,
here.
so I
So mark your calendars, 6:30 Thursday night.
try and
That's
get here for
basically,
6:30.
yeah, his family's coming, to the best of my knowledge.
Mhm.
Then we'll move down to the town building and maintenance. Sorry. The, town hall, we already finished that. That was the sign, right? Town hall,
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay, I can take that off.
6 is done, other than the furnace.
6 is done, we're waiting on the furnace. So that furnace, the old furnace,
Mhm.
still pipes into the other furnace.
Mm-hmm.
So it was gonna take someone else, plus none of your contractors would warranty any of moving the old furnace. So,
Plan B.
we went to Plan B,
Mhm.
and we're scheduled sometime in January.
Okay.
The other thing is, I did reach out to Irving,
Mm-hmm.
because Irving does I've stopped the,
The auto delivery.
auto delivery, and they're gonna come out on December 20th and do a site visit at the station, and it's gonna meet the chief or somebody from there to see what they need. I've given the specs to the furnace, whether it's 1 or 2.
Mhm.
Remember at the town hall, we put 4 120s? So that, it's gonna be the 20th during the day, between 12 and 4.
Now,
Yes,
with that, what is the status on the full tank of oil that's there?
we're going to repurpose it, I
Okay.
think, to the DPW garage.
Okay. I didn't know. I know it's all bought and paid for, so
It is.
we can't let it sit in there and
So what
do
we thought
nothing.
we would do is instead of, we would just repurpose it and
fine.
take it, pump it into a tank and take it to the DPW garage.
That's fine.
So you're right, we can't remove that yet because of the furnace.
Right.
But let's back up. So on the painting, he's gonna start on the 16th.
Okay.
And the reason we picked the 16th, because he's gonna take care of Karen's room first, because Karen's on vacation from the 16th to the 23rd. Then he'll move to, Beth's isn't as bad as mine, but if I'm staying downstairs till the 23rd, they can kinda
Move around.
get things moving around and do the offices when no one's there. And they can do the conservation room and the hallway ceiling, and Beth's is more over, not her desk. So that's gonna get started. Riverdale, the town engineers survey crew is gonna be here probably within the next couple of weeks. He's doing some research now at the registry.
Okay.
And then we'll start that project down there. I would like to ask at the end, when you are completely done, that we go into non-public under C.
Okay.
Because I have a email that we need to discuss.
All set?
That's all I have.
Correspondence of the business.
I'm good.
Just want to bring up a couple things that came up. The tax bills, you're going to work on that?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. The hall use ideas, we can wait until we have a full crew here.
Yep.
But I think that's something we need to start discussing as far as what, on the town side, with monitoring what's going on nationally, to see what we can do, see what kind of requirements we need to require. Again, I know Selectman Van talked about getting the UV light as a secondary decon. It does work.
It does, but I'm saying that's a good secondary one. But
Right.
I think we still have to look at the,
Gross decon procedures,
yeah.
et cetera.
And as far as.
But I think we need, to start fueling
Yep.
that conversation. So I'd like to put that down as a topic for potentially, maybe not next meeting, because it's gonna be
After the
Motorola
first of the year?
and DPW, but
Right after the first
I would
of
say the first meeting of the first of the year,
Right.
we have that discussion.
Yep.
And then, again, back to former speakers and town moderator, probably refuel and ethics committee.
Draft the warrant article for that. I'd have to go on a warrant.
I thought it was already here. We still had it currently on the
I
book.
think you just continued it.
We're just gonna continue
Where'd
it.
he go? I think we
Left.
just continued it at a town
Okay,
meeting.
all right, so,
So you
well,
have to start it again.
So you
we have to start
go
again.
through the process.
And I think that we also need to poll other towns as well
Yeah.
to find out what their, I don't want to say qualifications, but it can't just be, to me, it's got to be a mixed board, you know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But how do they form theirs? You know, who sits on it and who do they, I don't want to say handpick, but how do they choose their members? How they choose their
How do the
members?
board members.
Right.
Yep.
Just a few ideas for our own, that's all. But, so maybe you can put that on that website.
Oh, the listserv,
The
yeah.
listserv,
Yeah.
yeah. Just to start fueling
This time
it.
of year is tough because a lot of them are vacation.
Well,
a lot of
exactly,
them-
right. In between the two
Yeah.
holidays, right,
Yeah.
so. But at least that way there we can start and see where we're at.
See what, yeah, maybe NHMA might have something on it too.
Yeah.
Right, right. Again, just to who to put on it
Yep.
and ideas, so. But, so I don't want that. Maybe we can put that on your report just as a placeholder so we don't lose it. Same with the town hall, maybe under buildings, just so we don't lose that as well.
Did, when you were signing the manifest, did you happen to catch the price of diesel fuel we're paying?
I did not.
Almost $3.15.
Right, right,
Budgeted 3.25, so
Yeah, you're 10
right, we're
cents away.
close.
we're close.
We're close, right,
You are?
yeah. But I think we also went a little high on gas, which
We did.
hopefully will
Well,
offset it.
gas went up high and now it's dropped again.
Right,
It just dropped, but.
right. Well, I think it's a game we're gonna play for a while, and, I mean, again, it's a crapshoot, no matter what you
It is.
try.
Electricity, everything is.
Yep,
Pandemic, you don't know what's
And you're
going
gonna
on.
start seeing higher prices in some of the other products because of
because of
fuel
petroleum,
surcharges.
because of petroleum, yeah. Yeah, if you can get motor oil right now. So, all right, anything else, board members? No? All right. All right, I'll move that we go into non-public under RSA 91A3, Roman numeral 2C. Is there a second? Moved and seconded, roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and we will be adjourning afterwards. So, thank you everyone for attending. Have a good night.